Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Please subscribe if you haven't yet already. It is a red box that you see on the screen right now, but don't click on that. Click underneath me somewhere and that will get you subscribed to my channel. There's also a little white bell next to that, and if you click that, you'll get an alert every time I upload new content, which is also awesome. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me very happy. Today's video is, and when I started filming it, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I think it's the first in a series. It's not going to be as regular or as consistent as the series that I'm doing about American Horror Story Cult, because that's weekly and Stranger Things came out on October 27th altogether. But I think I'm going to do a series around Stranger Things. This is the first episode. It's about Mad Max, and I'm also going to focus, because it's not, I don't have like strange makeup to use, but because it reminds me of fall and I'm just now kind of getting into fall. It's still warm in California, but it's getting a little cooler, so I'm getting a little bit more into fall. So the palette that I'll be using today is the Colourpop Yes Please palette. I did this look with it, and if you would like to see how I got this look and do a little chatting about my impressions about Stranger Things, the first episode of season, or the first episode of this new season. I'm reluctant to call it a season because they're calling it like a sequel. So the first episode of the sequel, Mad Max, and see how I got this look. Please keep watching. Right, I've already moisturized, and I've also gone in with some Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. And I'm gonna prime my lids with my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So we begin not in Hawkins, but in Pittsburgh. And it is, I'm looking at my notes, it's October 28th, 1984, and Will Byers vanished on November 6th of 83, so almost a year to the day. Go in with full zip just to kind of dry this down a little bit. And so we see these kind of punk rock kids. I think we're assuming that they're leaving the scene of a crime, but we don't actually see them committing the crime, but they're certainly zooming away, and the police are in pursuit. And I think there are 4 in the car, but it's the van. It definitely is a van. And we are really focusing on the person, the woman, the girl in the passenger seat. And they keep evading. I'm gonna go in with Notice. Actually, I'm gonna go in with Mischief to really kind of lay down some warmth. This is the yellow. And they're getting away, and then the cops find them again, and then she tells the driver to go into this tunnel. And the cops are really clear that they're going to be able to capture them. And they go into the tunnel, and then she does this thing, and the tunnel collapses, and the cops can't get through. They all crash at the beginning of it. And she has a nosebleed, and we see that she has a tattoo that says 008 on her arm, so we know that there are more. And then the tunnel actually didn't collapse, which is nice. And I don't think any of the cops died, but oh my gosh. Now I'm gonna go in with Big Cocktails, the orange. And this is a slightly smaller brush, so that, yeah, there are more. It's super exciting. And then we're back in Hawkins with the kids, and they're all looking for quarters. And I wasn't sure what they were getting the quarters for. And then they end up at the arcade, and then Dragon's Lair, which I never actually played. I'm gonna go in with Spoiled with a smaller brush. So I never actually played it, but I definitely remember there being days at the arcade. There was this one kid who always had the high score and always had like rolls of quarters. It's one of those games that you can, I think it's when you die that you can keep putting in more quarters. So it's not like you start over from the beginning, if memory serves correctly. And there was this kid who just played forever. And we go with the same brush with French Kiss, just to kind of deepen that up a little bit. So that was a neat walk down memory lane. I think we're going to be seeing more of that because we saw a lot of Dragon's Lair in the previews. And I wonder if that means that one of our male or female, but his name was Dirk. I wonder if someone will end up being Dirk the Daring and slay the dragon, which is just so excited. Butter cake on the bulk of my lid. And then we hear that there is, actually no, first, yeah, we hear that someone has beaten Dustin's score at Dig Dug. I don't remember ever playing Dig Dug. I played Centipede and Galaxian and Pole Position, and I'm thinking about the arcades that I used to go to and where things were set up. Frogger. I don't remember Dig Dug though. Hubert, that's the one I was thinking of with the guy that, yeah. So there is someone who has beaten Dustin's score, and that person's name is Mad Max, and we don't yet know who it is, but we find out later who it is. And then Will has this foray into the upside down. And I'm going to go in with Louis on the outer area of my eye. And when I'm done concealing, I might come in, just because I'm feeling especially autumnal today, I might come in and do a little more under my eyes. I don't know why I'm announcing that now. And actually I'll go in with on my inner corner, same brush, just flipping it over with Chauffeur. Now I'm singing the Duran Duran song, The Chauffeur, to myself. The music is really good too. I was afraid it was gonna be all Michael Jackson, which the music last season was really good, and the music this season is really good too. All right, one last pass with this fluffy blending brush just to kind of clean everything up. Lining with my Charlotte Tilbury Feline Flick. So Will has this flashback, or he's in the upside down, nobody else is there. Begins in the arcade when everything looks real, like in the real world arcade. And it takes a little bit for us to figure out what's happening. And he's frozen, and this thing keeps coming up, and I know that everything is kind of done intentionally here. I believe that. And he's frozen. And we hear him later talk about that the idea of things being frozen kind of keeps coming up throughout the episode. So then Mike comes outside and finds him. I don't know how. So I'm unclear about like what's happening to, it seems like Will is still corporeally there. I feel like in one of the previews we see Joyce and Will's kind of in a trance, and she's kind of pulling him and yelling at him. So it seems like he probably is still in the parking lot, and that Mike is going out there to snap him out of it. So not clear about what's happening with his body when that's happening. All right, and then we're at the police department and we meet Murray for the first time. And he's going on, it's interesting. I'm doing a series about American Horror Story cult, and with cult beauty products. And one of the things that has come up in this season of American Horror Story cult is that when crazy people say the truth, or when people who are not labeled as crazy say a truth that seems far-fetched but is real, they sound crazy. So Murray is talking to Hopper about this girl who might be Russian, and I think who might be an alien. Like, he's getting pieces of accurate information. I don't know where he's getting it from. And then one of the cops asks about the kid who made the other kid wet his pants, and Hopper's kind of dismissing all this. And we remember from the last, well, spoiler alert for last season. Hopefully you've seen last season if you're watching season 2. But in last episode of last season, we see Hopper getting into a car, like a Men in Black kind of a car. So all the stuff that this guy is saying is true. Some of it is stuff that the police are aware of, like the kid who wet his pants and the parents who... Oh, and that's also the same kid who got his arm broken. And the parents came into the police department, but it just seems so implausible. Double wear and Ecru. Then we are... Oh, and then we get a phone call from Meryl. Meryl has some pumpkins that are rotting, and he's blaming someone else, which gives Hopper an excuse to leave. Then we're in high school, in the parking lot, and poor Steve, poor not very intelligent Steve. It's interesting, these relationships, because when I look at Jonathan and Nancy, they seem better suited to each other than Nancy and Steve do. And just got me thinking about people you're attracted to in high school or when you're younger, before you've really kind of figured out who you are and what's really important to you. It's kind of painful to watch them because she's so smart, and it's kind of painful to watch him struggle like that. I don't think he has like academic or intellectual challenges. I think he's just not not as bright, or maybe doesn't make that as much of a priority as Nancy does. So there's that. And then we see these new people, an older mulleted guy who seems way too old to be in high school. And I'm assuming his little sister with California plates. We later learn that the little sister is Max and is actually Mad Max, the one who beat Dustin's score at Dig Dug. And she's pretty much a badass. She can ride a skateboard. I think we're probably going to find out more about her and her relationship to her brother, who seems kind of just icky. Icky, and I don't know. Went into my crease a little bit with my foundation, or with my concealer actually. I got a little too excited, so I'm going back in with that blending brush just to lay down a little more of whatever was left on my brush. We'll set this with Laura Mercier Secret Brightening under eye powder. Then we're at the store, and Joyce and Sean Astin, Bob and Joyce. That's just, he seems like a good guy. I think because of who the Duffer Brothers have kind of presented themselves to be and the reverence that they've had for movies and movie characters from the 80s. I really want to believe, and I do believe, that we can trust Bob is his name. That we can trust Bob. I'm not concerned that Bob is going to end up kind of turning on anybody, but they're very sweet together. Nancy invites Jonathan to the Halloween party, and she seems to know him really well because he is saying he's gonna go out, take Will out trick-or-treating, and Nancy says, and she's right, that he'll do that, but then he'll take Will home, like at 8, and then he'll be at home listening to the Talking Heads and reading Kurt Vonnegut, which probably is what Jonathan would do, and apparently sounds really like a good evening to him. Yeah, she knows him really well. I am curious about where that relationship is headed, because I think that the shelf life on the Steve-Nancy relationship, I don't think there's a long shelf life on that relationship. I think that certainly by the time, and she's a junior because he says that he will, you know, get a job with his dad in town and stick around while she graduates from high school. But I just think that by the time she gets to college, she'll just be so bored. And she's already talked to Jonathan about her parents and their miserable relationship. And I think that she's probably fighting for something more than that. I want to believe in her. I want to believe in her as this kind of strong female character. She's very physically too strong. Remember kind of last season with the bat. And I've been playing the game. There's a Stranger Things game, iPhone, Android game. And her nickname in the game is Slugger because she has a baseball bat, and Steve makes her a baseball bat with the nails sticking out of it. I don't think she had that in the first, maybe she did in the first season, but yeah, she's tough. Then we're back in school and Will gets taken out to have his test done. Laura Geller baked highlighter duo in French vanilla and Portofino. So the doctor is Dr. Owens. All right, so Dr. Owens is Paul Reiser, who was in Aliens. I believe that is the, obviously, More Than Mad About You, the reason why the Duffer Brothers chose him. And Will is attached to machines. Marc Jacobs' Kink and Kisses, sorry, that I didn't mention that before. And as Will is describing it, and I'll read this because I think it's upside down, I took notes. He says that he could sense that the monster wanted to kill everyone around him, but not Will. So he wasn't afraid, like the monster is going to kill me. He was frozen, and he seems to have this connection, kind of bond with the monster. Like he can feel that the monster wants to kill people. Not sense it, but feel it. Like he's sharing feelings with the monster somehow. And yeah, he says that he's frozen in place, like he couldn't move. He wasn't frozen to the touch, which is a question that Dr. Owens keeps repeatedly asking him, but is frozen in place. So he's not talking about being cold, he's just talking about being motionless. And then it's just Hopper and Joyce and Dr. Owens, and I think it's interesting that Hopper is there. He was there when everything else happened in the other episodes. And I don't even want to call it the first season because they're treating this apparently like a sequel, like a movie sequel. So I don't even want to say season 1 because I don't know. So the doctor says that it is probably going to get worse before it gets better. It's basically post-traumatic stress disorder, and as he's getting nearer to the anniversary of his kidnapping, which was November 6th, and which is actually, I keep seeing signs around there for the Reagan-Bush election, and that's November 6th. Reviewing my notes. So I wonder if we'll see something happen on November 6th because that is the day that the Reagan-Bush election happened. And Dr. Owen says that he can be trusted. He's positioning himself to be different from the people from the first season, which I don't know how much we can trust him. We can see that there's still things happening. In fact, we see that immediately after Joyce and Will and Hopper leave the lab, we get this behind the scenes scene of these guys in hazmat suits, and Dr. Owen says it looks like another hot one today. So back to what he was saying about Will and was Will cold, another hot one, so temperature seems to be important. Charlotte Tilbury airbrush flawless powder. Oh, and then the guy in the hazmat suit is attacking these beings that I remember from seeing in the game, these kind of tentacle things, attacking them with fire, with like a blowtorch or a flamethrower or something like that. Going to squirt myself with some all-nighter setting spray, do my lipstick, and then I'll come back and read through the rest of my notes. I'll be right back. For that I used a Kiko lip liner in 305 and Kat Von D Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in Nosferatu. Yeah, so this thing that he's attacking with fire, just wondering about the cold and the hot. And then we're at dinner with Mike and his family, and there's Holly. I love Holly so much, the little girl from the first season. I don't think she ever said anything, but she just has the best facial expressions. I believe she's played by twins. And Mike has to give away a lot of his toys because of stealing the quarters, I guess, from Nancy originally when they were playing Dragon's Lair. But it seems like he's doing a lot of other bad things. He's plagiarized an essay. He was graffitiing the bathrooms. So it seems like he's doing some acting up. Then we are at Barb's house with Steve and Nance, and Barb's family hired Murray to look into Barb's disappearance. They're selling the house to pay him to do it, which is... Okay, and then we're back at the house, at Mike's house, and he's going through his toys to give away. And we see him touch these toys. We see him interact with these toys that he remembers from 11. So the dinosaur and the Millennium Falcon are the two things that he's playing with in particular. And then he goes to the walkie-talkie and he's reaching out to her, and he makes a reference to day whatever of whatever. Like, it seems like he's doing this every single day. And I swear we hear her voice on the walkie-talkie, but it ends up being Dustin that is talking to him. And he's wearing a Brontosaurus hoodie. I noticed that. I looked it up to see if Brontosauruses are real again. I know that in, I think, 2002, there were scientists that revised theories about Brontosauri, I guess is the plural of Brontosaurus, and said that they weren't real. But I think in 2005, or 2015, somebody came out and said that they were, so I'm not sure. But he is wearing a Brontosaurus hoodie, which I think is interesting because of the whole back and forth about whether or not they're actually even real. And Will and Jonathan, well, Jonathan's being a good older brother. Will thinks he's a freak, and Jonathan says, yeah, maybe you are a freak, but do you want to be like everybody else? Which is true. They're all watching television as a family with Bob, which is very sweet. And I think Bob's probably a little bit more square than the kids would want, but they seem like they're really kind of enjoying their time together, which is a nice departure from the chaos that Joyce has been going through. Although I still feel like there's something happening, not happening with, but there's the possibility of there being something that we really never got to the root of what happened between Joyce and Hopper, or whether or not one of the kids is actually Hopper's, which I kind of think that Jonathan might be Hopper's. But the phone rings, the wall phone rings, the one that melted before, and Joyce looks at it. And Bob tells her not to worry about it, but she seems really worried. And Will is in the house next to her on the couch when the phone rings. So I'm not sure what she is worried about in terms of the phone. Wonder if she's worried about a creature reaching out to her. Then we're back at the Hawkins lab. The lights in the machine go nuts. Then I think we're in Will's house. It looked like we were in Mike's house because the house seemed a lot bigger than Joyce's house. But the shots are really cool. The kind of establishing shots in each room kind of following. And then we end up with Mike leaving the bathroom, and there are noises and flashing lights coming from outside, and we see the camera pans behind his neck and we see his skin go from normal to having goosebumps. So I'm thinking again about the idea of him being frozen in terms of being immobile, but not in terms of cold. But now he is cold, and I'm wondering what that means. Or maybe he's just getting goosebumps because he's scared, but I think that's way too specific a thing to show with all of the references to being frozen and things like that. And then we're back at Hopper's home, and we see the reveal that 11 is there, and they're having TV dinner. She's eating more healthfully, and he's telling her that she can have dessert later, which is her ego. And she's been there for a while. Her hair's longer, she has new clothes, she seems comfortable. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I really like this episode. I'm excited to watch the next of them. And thank you so much for watching. I think I am gonna do more of these. I wasn't sure, but I think I am gonna do more of these. I just am not sure what the timing will be like, but I think I will. So thank you so much for watching. A lot to do in the world, a lot to do on YouTube, and I really appreciate that you took some time to spend with me today. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.